Right, we're on. Right, hello. I'll put my tea down. Today's session is hopefully short, and it's all about planning for weight loss weekends. And I'm going to do a screen share in a sec. But the point, what I wanted to do is I wanted to tackle this because it's actually quite a hard habit to break out of that sort of. It sort of causes us to stall. We can be quite disciplined in the week. We're working hard. We need the routine. But the weekend, it's just, again, just a little bit too easy to go a little bit overboard because, to be honest, with the weight, I'm not really recommending that anyone cuts calories really dramatically during the week. And that means that you don't have an awful lot to play with in terms of going overboard by just the wrong amount at weekends can be something that does stall weight loss. And so I really wanted to sort of just look at some ways of addressing this. And I do think it's better not to sacrifice weekday calories so that you can splurge them all at weekends. And the reason for that is I think it can be actually quite counterproductive. And it means that we don't acknowledge the fact that we actually work really hard during the week. People have got a lot on, a lot to manage, a lot to juggle, more to the point. And when you are trying to do all of those things and get by on very basic meals, not enough calories, feeling a little bit deprived, almost exacerbates that sense of wanting to go for it at the weekend because the weekends have felt so hard for a number of reasons that then we get to the weekend and we really feel that we've earned it. And it's very easy for that sort of I've earned it decisions to start from Friday night, end on Sunday, and really blow through any calories that you might have saved in the week by being good. Okay, so I'm going to give you a method today to use to plan the weekend. And, I want to say that not all weeks need to be about weight loss. Okay, so and I think it's useful to think about this in two ways. You either want to be having a week where you want a weight loss result at the end of it, or there might be certain instances where you're happy to get to a week and have that as a maintenance result. Okay. Half term is a great example for that. It's half term now, but it might be that just the complexities of the change of routine or wanting to do a few different things with your kids or your partner is worth the fact that you can just very happily just sit where you are for the week. And it's about us making conscious choices about what we actually want to be achieving and getting down to think about, well, what do we need to do to get that result? And for a lot of people, on the program or the majority, it is about weight loss at the end of the day. And it's not about being in weight loss forever. It's about being in weight loss for a relatively small amount of time, but then learning to get to maintenance and learning how to hold it. And that's how you don't ever have to sort of go on a diet. But it does mean a little bit of sacrifice in the short term. And we have to lean into that if that's something that we want. So let me share my screen and you'll see what I have done, which is pretty basic. If anyone's a graphic designer. So this is the structure that I've looked at. So it's this is your days of the week going across the top, and then this is your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. And the grey area, maybe not the best colour to use, but the grey area is Monday to Friday lunchtime, all right? And then the pink area is the weekend, and I'm counting weekend as from your evening meal on a Friday. And I think it's very helpful to think about your week in two different structures because, again, one of the reasons why we struggle at weekend is we expect to, be able to carry on the same sort of structure that we've done, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday into the weekend, and we don't. And then we feel bad because we've not managed to do that. It's much more sensible to lean into the fact that 99% of the time, we need our weekends to feel different. Okay. So this is how I think about it. It's thinking about these things as two separate entities and planning for each one. Now, the week is about prioritized nutrition. And I really think about this as fueling the week. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more. Whereas the weekends are about prioritizing enjoyment, but also rest and relaxation. Because we have to recognize that, as I said earlier, our weeks they can be really, really tough. And we should just accept that and just know that we can really find Monday to Friday, a real slog. And we need to kick back at the weekends. So we need to just allow us, no, don't fight that, just let's lean into it. So let's start by looking at the week. So the week is about fueling us, because we've got an awful lot to do, an awful lot to cope with. And this is why I'm not a big fan of really trying to hold calories back on Monday to Friday, because as I just said in the introduction, they are tough times. So and we've got a lot of work to do. We need to, be very productive. We need a clear brain. We need our energy levels. We need our concentration, etc. And that all comes from being well fed. Okay. So during the week, we want to think about having 3 filling meals a day. We want to have those 3 big, decent portions of food so that we can get from one meal to the next with our energy levels intact and not feeling this sort of dip that starts to happen when we don't eat enough. And that's also an opportunity for those cravings to creep in. Okay. And we want to also be thinking about making sure that we hit our protein targets for those meals, for your breakfast, for your lunch, for your dinner. And that means when you're planning your meals at weekend, think about what the protein is that you'll be having at those meals first and foremost, and then you're filling in around the vegetables and the carbs and a little bit of oil. So that's going to give us a really good structure of good food. And I've learned that what works really well for me now, and I really recommend it for everyone, is that you have as much as your job and your schedule allows for you to have regular timing with your meals. And even if you had to change that day to day, if one day might not be the same as the other day, knowing when you're going to eat can be a game changer, and mean that you don't let yourself get too hungry, or miss meals or wait too long. And then again, that's where those cravings can start to come in. And I know if I sort of sit there and put the food off, then I will start to struggle. And just for example, today, when I'm recording this video, I've gone and I've made my food. I've put it in the air fryer. It's going for half an hour, so that by the time I finish this, it'll be ready for me to eat. Because I know if I sort of stretch it any longer and I start to be getting to have to wait, till 1:30, 2:00 for my meal, I really start to struggle. My energy levels go, my concentration levels go, I get no work done, and I start eating, right? So it's about just making sure you're planning in those meals. And don't wait till you're hungry. Get that schedule going. So again, it's fueling the week, keeping you at sort of peak performance and peak mood throughout the day. And we're all different. So I always very much encourage people to try and adopt sort of timings that work for them. Now, I'm a lark, so I'm an early riser. So I'm ready for a good breakfast at 7:30. That means I'm ready for my lunch by 12:30. And increasingly, I'm pulling my evening meal earlier so even as early as 4:30, 5:00 sometimes, because by then I'm ready for it. I've been up for a long time. I usually get up about 5:30. So I've been up for a long time and I'm hungry. And if I eat my meals in that order, if I follow that structure, I don't actually need to eat again for the rest of the evening, and I don't get cravings, and I don't need anything else. Whereas if I try and sort of go a little bit later to say 6 or 7 o'clock, I'm climbing the walls by then, and there's no way I can get from lunch till that time. And equally, if I start pushing my lunch back to 2:00, it doesn't work for me. So it's worthwhile experimenting with what works for you. If you're more of a night owl, it might be that you don't need breakfast at 7:30, or you can't even stomach it. And you might be as well then to start pushing your meals back. So you're maybe on a 9 o'clock, a 2:00, and a 7 o'clock type of thing. But so play around with what works best for you. When do you need the energy during your day? And that's where you want to sort of look at planning your meals in. So the key is to be eating as much nutritious food as we can during the week, during those 3 meals, okay? Which means that we don't have as much to spare for treats, okay? Now, I think, and I also think if you're very focused on weight loss, it's worth setting yourself a target that the treats would be a maximum of 200 calories a day. And I would count treats as a chocolate bar, as biscuits, as fruits, as nuts, anything that you're going to be having as a bit of a snack in between meals, or if you like a dessert after a meal, that's sort of the range that you want to get towards. And whilst I don't really sort of suggest anyone, most people don't want to count calories, but it's worth putting a limit on what you have, because we want to prioritize the nutrition. Two, it's very easy to get into habits of wanting to have sweet things after every meal or at multiple times during the day. I know, because I've been there before. And it's a sort of a perpetuating cycle. You sort of get into that habit and that routine, and you want them. And the calories for those snacks can very easily creep up to the point where they're reducing the amount of nutrition that you're getting a day in relation to the amount of energy that you're having. So you're getting the same energy maybe if you're eating more snacks than real food, but you're falling short on the nutrition, and you're probably messing around with your blood sugar levels, and you're certainly not going to be helping with your cravings. So try and be disciplined around how many snacks you have during the week and how big those snacks are. And a key thing, you should, if you're eating good filling meals, you should find it easier to not go with them, not need the snacks, because you'll feel full and you'll feel satiated. So then I would look at then using your 200-calorie snack to be planned in when you need it most. And it might be that you need an 11 o'clock break, or you really enjoy it in the evening after your dinner to sort of sit down and relax a little bit. So find that time during the day when that works best for you. Other people find it somewhere between lunchtime and dinner, especially if they've got kids and they're sort of tired from the working week, and then they've just got a minute to themselves before they have to suddenly cope with a load of kids coming in from school. That little snack can just be a good way of you just sort of resetting yourself, ready to sort of pick that energy level up and do what you need to do in the evening. So that's how I would think about that. Find the most important time for you to have that 200-calorie snack. Or if you need two snacks a day, they can be 200-calorie snacks. It's very easy to find little snacks and treats and chocolate bars and biscuits and things like that. They're 100 calories each that you can split between 2 times a day. But do try and stick to that limit, because that's going to help us stay in that calorie deficit over the week, and also to help you operate at your best during the week. So then we get to Friday night, Saturday and Sunday. And this is where we want to go into a different mode. Sorry, I just want to say something else actually. In the week, it's also good to have, I think people tend to not mind having more functional meals. Happy to have a bit of repetition for breakfast, happy to have a bit of repetition for lunch. We don't have much time to think about what we're having or after, and find it very easy, and less mental work to think about what we're eating for breakfast and lunch. Just eat it, get done with it, because we're busy. Dinner time, it's family time, or it's, we can relax a little bit more. So it's good to make those meals more enjoyable and get the variation in those. But you might find that you settle into a repertoire of having your sort of weekday favorites and your weekday staples that you can just do and repeat, knowing that you enjoy them, everyone else enjoys them, and you're happy just to sort of have like a little bit of a rota or a routine that you maybe repeat every week or every few, a 2 or 3 week cycle. But so they still sort of fall into sort of functional, but a little bit more enjoyable than what you might be having for breakfast and lunch. Which is why when you get into Friday night, Sunday night mode, we're starting to change the way we think about what we're eating, because we want to prioritize enjoying our food. We also want to prioritize some rest and relaxation. And that's really important, because, as I say, most 99% of the people doing this program work their socks off during the week and, deal with incredible levels of stress. We have to let ourselves rest and recover at the weekend. What we don't want to fall into is just thinking the only way we can rest and recover and treat ourselves is by food. So we have to think about how we might plan in non-food related rest and recovery, so that food isn't just the be all and end all for what we want when we're not working. Okay. So And then also it's worth being aware of a change, the difference between pleasure and enjoyment. And pleasure is, we talk about pleasure for food, and I am changing my language around it a little bit, because pleasure is more linked to hedonistic experiences, where it's a short, sharp hit of pleasure. And certainly that pleasure doesn't take, or that moment of indulging in something doesn't take into account any consequences of what that thing is. So the calories, whether that's been the fifth snack you've had this week or today, and or how that's contributing to your long-term goals. We can just get addicted to that little, I say that in a light way, but we can just get used to that little hit of pleasure, that sugar, that crunch, multiple times a day, and we're just going after it, but we're not really enjoying it. It's just too much. We just want that little shot constantly, but it's over with as soon as we've had it. Pleasure is also a word that's used in relation to alcohol and drugs. In more sort of official, people are chasing a high, people are chasing that sort of dopamine hit, whereas enjoyment is a totally different thing. It's about more protracted experience. It's about anticipation. So enjoyment would be a family meal where you spent a little bit of time preparing or put a little bit more effort into it, and you're enjoying the conversation, you're enjoying the company, you're more relaxed. It's not just about the pleasure of what you're putting into your mouth in that moment. And I think it's worth very much trying to remember that definition when you're planning your weekend meals, and try and make sure that what you're having is going more into an enjoyment category rather than pleasure. Okay, so we're looking across a wider set of criteria to how much we're enjoying the situation. It's not just only about the taste or the intensity of the sweetness or whatever that we would be having if we were having a chocolate bar. And in terms of what choices to make, you can still stick to a very similar template in terms of the 3 meals a day, and how many, having priority hitting your protein targets, and even though you don't count calories, having a similar amount of food during that day. Okay, so we're not just thinking that we're on a free-for-all from Friday night to Sunday night. As I said, that's how you then get stuck in this forward and backward type situation. But you can bring the changes by eating different meals at the weekend to what you would have in the week. Yeah. Or some people find that what works really well is to go for 2 big meals on a Saturday and Sunday. So you would have a brunch instead of a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It might either have, might just have a bigger dinner and brunch, or a little snack in between. And that can work really well. But on average, you're probably eating about the same amount, but it's just structured differently. And it's also comprised of different food. So, it might be that you have your fruit and yogurt every day for breakfast, but Saturday and Sunday is something a little bit nicer, like a cooked breakfast, or eggs and avocado on toast, or smoked salmon and scrambled eggs, something like that. And your dinners, rather than just being your spag bol and your chilies and your curries, you're making a little bit more of an effort, and it might be something more like a steak and chips, or we always like prawns and patatas bravas and chicken kebabs type of thing. So we'll have different things at the weekend to what we'll have at the week, and that can be enough to make it feel special and feel different. Now, if you are going out, then, and this is about staying in a weight loss mode, because if you were going out in a maintenance mode, there would be a different criteria. But I want to talk about this from a weight loss point of view. So if your weekend involves some socializing, and that's a meal out, say for a dinner or a lunch, then you want to think about just going for a single course and prioritizing the protein, and limiting your alcohol to 1 or 2 glasses of wine. That's what you drink. Okay. And that's going to mean that you're going to be full. You want to then be focusing on the enjoyment of that social occasion, getting ready, wearing different clothes, maybe having a little bit of time to put makeup on differently, and all of those things. But you're going to be sticking on 1 course, and that's it. So it's not a 3-course dinner and a couple of glasses of wine or half a bottle, if you want to be getting weight loss from that weekend. Something else people do quite a lot of the weekend that they really enjoy or really look forward to is going out for a cake. So in that instance, I'll be thinking I'm going to stick to a very similar amount of breakfast that I normally would have. I'll go and have a coffee and a cake, and that's lunch, because realistically, a coffee and a cake in a cafe will be a very similar calories in total to a full meal. And then I would be going down the sort of prioritized protein dinner, where I might have, I don't know, chicken and salad and potatoes, or chicken and wrap or something like that. And that's how I would be structuring that weekend. So another thing that people also enjoy at weekends is maybe going and having a bit more sort of ready meal type food, which again is perfectly fine, because they want to break from the cooking. And again, it's just a question of planning. So I did put in the Dropbox group last week an example of having a bacon butty for lunch, some hummus and pita say a bacon butty for breakfast, or eggs on toast for breakfast, some hummus and pita for lunch, and half a shop bought pizza for your tea with a big salad. That would have most people well within the calorie targets, even if you put a glass of wine on there and you've had a nice easy day where you've not spent time in the kitchen. So, and that would feel very different to what you'd had during the week. And if that's your idea of a great weekend, that you do barely any cooking, then bring it on. You don't need to. So you can think about how you plan those weekends so they feel very different to the week. But what we're trying to get to a situation is you still over that week are in a calorie deficit, so that you are losing weight gradually over time. And that's what when you want that from the program, that's what we have to be prepared to look at. Otherwise, you can get into a situation where you drive yourself mad by being good all weekends, being good all week, ruining the weekend. You feel like you're making a lot of effort, you're getting none of the progress, and your motivation starts to go. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a sort of a more concrete structure that you can use to do your planning. And of course, if you feel that this would be helpful to have a conversation with in one of our coaching sessions and just get a little bit clearer about what that structure looks like for you, then as always, I'm very happy to do that with you. Okay, so hopefully that was, I don't know what the timing of this is. I'm trying to make them a bit shorter because I know everyone's pushed for time. So hopefully this is a little bit shorter than some of the other ones. And what I will do is I will post a link to that spreadsheet if that helps anybody. It's obviously really basic. If you wanted to use that for your plan or print it out. Right. Thank you very much. And I'll speak to you all soon. All right. Bye for now. Oh, hang on. I've got to come out of the screen share. Right. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. And I'll see you all very soon. All right.